Once upon a time, there was a young girl. Her name was Little Red Riding Hood. Little Red Riding Hood and her mother lived in a small village. One morning, her mother asked her to go and visit her grandmother. Her grandmother lived on the other side of the forest. Her mother made some food for her to take to her grandmother. Her mother told her to go straight to her grandmother's house. Her mother told her not to talk to strangers on the way. Little Red Riding Hood said, "Yes, mother." She carried a basket full of bread. There are 30 questions and answers on the above story with very easy words for kids aged from 5 to 7-year-old to understand. 1. Who is the main character in the story? The main character in the story is Little Red Riding Hood. 2. Where did Little Red Riding Hood and her mother live? They lived in a small village. 3. What did Little Red Riding Hood's mother ask her to do? Her mother asked her to go and visit her grandmother. 4. Where did Little Red Riding Hood's grandmother live? Her grandmother lived on the other side of the forest. 5. What did Little Red Riding Hood's mother give her to take to her grandmother? Her mother gave her a basket full of bread. 6. What did Little Red Riding Hood's mother tell her not to do on the way to her grandmother's house? Her mother told her not to talk to strangers on the way. 7. Did Little Red Riding Hood agree to follow her mother's instructions? Yes, Little Red Riding Hood said yes, mother. 8. What was Little Red Riding Hood's job? Her job was to deliver the basket of bread to her grandmother. 9. What was the weather like when Little Red Riding Hood set off? The story doesn't say what the weather was like. 10. Did Little Red Riding Hood go straight to her grandmother's house? We don't know yet. The story doesn't say. 11. Why did Little Red Riding Hood's mother warn her about strangers? She warned her to stay safe and avoid danger. 12. Was Little Red Riding Hood alone on her journey? The story doesn't say whether she was alone or with someone else. 13. What was in the basket that Little Red Riding Hood was carrying? The basket was full of bread. 14. Why did Little Red Riding Hood need to go to her grandmother's house? She was delivering the basket of bread to her grandmother. 15. What did Little Red Riding Hood's mother say about talking to strangers? She told her not to talk to strangers on the way to her grandmother's house. 16. Did Little Red Riding Hood's mother trust strangers? No, she didn't want Little Red Riding Hood to talk to strangers. 17. Was Little Red Riding Hood excited to visit her grandmother? The story doesn't say whether she was excited or not. 18. Did Little Red Riding Hood know the way to her grandmother's house? The story doesn't say whether she knew the way or not. 19. Why did Little Red Riding Hood need to take food to her grandmother? It's not clear why Little Red Riding Hood needed to take food to her grandmother, but it's likely that she was taking her grandmother some food to eat. 20. Was Little Red Riding Hood happy to go to her grandmother's house? The story doesn't say whether she was happy or not. 21. What was the forest like where Little Red Riding Hood had to go? The story doesn't say what the forest was like. 22. What was Little Red Riding Hood wearing? She was wearing a red riding hood. 23. Did Little Red Riding Hood have any friends or family with her on her journey? The story doesn't say whether she had anyone with her or not. 24. What was Little Red Riding Hood carrying with her? She was carrying a basket full of bread. 25. What did Little Red Riding Hood's mother ask her to do when she saw her grandmother? The story doesn't say what Little Red Riding Hood's mother asked her to do when she saw her grandmother. 26. Did Little Red Riding Hood like to visit her grandmother? The story doesn't say whether she liked to visit her grandmother or not. 27. Why did Little Red Riding Hood's mother tell her not to talk to strangers? To keep her safe from any potential danger. 28. Did Little Red Riding Hood live with her mother? Yes, Little Red Riding Hood lived with her mother in a small village. 29. What did Little Red Riding Hood's mother ask her to do? Little Red Riding Hood's mother asked her to go and visit her grandmother who lived on the other side of the forest. 30. What did Little Red Riding Hood's mother give her to take to her grandmother? Little Red Riding Hood's mother gave her a basket full of bread to take to her grandmother.